Welcome to Most. Přijďte fandit a držet palce nejenom mě, ale celému českému týmu Bagíra.
And welcome to Most indeed. Thank you very much, Adam Lachko, for welcoming us to this fantastic circuit and what's hopefully going to be a fantastic afternoon's racing. Hello, everybody. Chaz Draycott here, commentating on the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. We're here for the 5th race meeting of the 2022 season. These races will be rounds 17, 18, 19 and 20. Of the championship after completing the first half with a 4-race meeting at the Nürburgring. You can see the grid all lining up after the qualifying session that we had this morning. We had qualifying 1 and Superpole, and everybody is excited to get the racing underway. There is one of the men that everybody is going to be focusing on, Adam Lachko, in the number 55 Bagheera ZM Racing Freightliner. Gorgeous machine. There's that red stripe again down the bonnet that I'm obsessed with, where they always have the details of where we're racing and when. Good to see Andrei Kurzim on the grid. He had a steering failure this morning that put him in the wall quite hard on the exit of the right-hander down at turn 13. He's alongside Jonathan Andre at the back of the grid. Of course, he's driving the number 66 Lion Truck Racing machine for the rest of the season after the tragic passing of Anthony Janiec just a month ago. We've got yellow flags being waved as the trucks, of course, make their way around onto the grid to all line up. And there you can see everybody all in anticipation of the start of this race. You could see at the very start of our broadcast, Norbert Kish was making his way around, and he will be lining up on the front row of the grid alongside Jochen Hahn for, well, to be fair, a countless amount of times, actually, these guys have been on the front row. They're very close competitors with one another. You can see Sasha Lenz just making his way to the grid there. And here is Teo Calve, currently leading the Promoters Cup, of course also known as the Goodyear Cup in previous seasons, but now with Goodyear being the title sponsor of the championship, it's back to being known as the Promoters Cup. I believe there is Alia Kolok as well, actually, who was racing with us in the championship last year. Another member of the Bagheera racing team. She's actually racing in Euro NASCAR this season, which joins us on this part of the calendar. Her and her sister have also been racing in GT4 cars as well, in a Mercedes AMG GT4, as well as competing in the Dakar as well. They've had a fantastic career already of motorsport, and they're both very young, very competitive female racers. It's a wonderful story, and if you haven't heard of them before, then you need to go and have a look at how they've got into motorsport and how they're doing, and just follow their antics through the entire sport. It's wonderful and a great story. There you can see window nets being clipped into place, all final safety checks being done. This is the first of 2 races this weekend. There is Jose Rodriguez in number 14 making his way to the grid. Look how shiny these trucks are. I was telling you earlier just about how well presented they all are time and time again after every single event and before every single event. And you get a real idea there of just how well kept these machines are. Here we look at the Lion Truck Racing machine, though, of Anthony Janiec, and it's about time that we have a look back at Anthony and have a bit of a tribute to the wonderful man that we have so tragically lost very recently.
Rodriguez has been elbowed way back in the pack. Checker flag at the ready, and Anthony Janiec wins at the Nürburgring. 4 races. Anthony Janiec makes his way onto the podium and takes the race win.
Yeah. He'll have a few sherbets.
Be the interviews instead.
Okay, so yes, I'm with Jonathan Andre. He's jumping in this truck instead of Anthony. You have short practice time and qualifying. What are your impressions about qualifying, and happy and satisfied with your time you set to this morning?
Yes, I'm happy with the time. This weekend for me it's a weekend to learn. And Anthony was a fantastic driver. I will never be so fast as him. He was also a very good friend. And I'm not here to win the race. I'm here to learn and to drive this truck, to be as close as possible of the group. But I'm 1.5 seconds from the truck in front of me. For first race, I'm okay. For me, most important is to give homage to Anthony and to the team.
What about your emotions at this moment with your heart? What are your feelings in this moment?
I feel many times like he can feel when he drive, and he can't tell me all these things. But for sure, every time I go in the truck, I think to him, I think to all the team who work together. And I think also to Patrick, our boss, who passed away 2 years ago. But for them, we have to continue, and we continue.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Good luck.
Thank you very much indeed, Andreas, for speaking to Jonathan Andre. And it is incredibly sad to have, of course, lost Anthony Janiec at just 37 years old as well. And we thank the team and those that have put that wonderful homage together. And it's great to see that the truck is still being raced as well. And they all know that that's how Anthony would have liked it to have completed the season at least. So Jonathan Andre taking on a big weight on his shoulders to make sure that he gets the best out of that truck. But as he said himself, he's here to learn and he's here to get experience in that wonderful racing machine. We've got Andre Kurzim joining him on the back row of the grid. And I believe we may speak to Andre in a moment. We've got Andreas there now, actually. And yes, we'll go down and speak to Andre, shall we?
Andre Kurzim. In the last row, that means not so good qualifying. And what happened today and yesterday? You stuck twice in the gravel bed.
Yes, yesterday we had a problem with the brakes also. And now the first session of qualifying was crazy for us. 2 bolts are broken and no steering in this moment, and over and out.
So, but let's hope that you can gain some positions. What's your aim for this race now?
I think the first 10 trucks are, the gap between the trucks is very small. It will be not easy, but hopefully we can get the position under 10. And yes, maybe we can do it. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you. Good luck. Back to you.
Yeah, Andre Kurzim hoping for some nice steady progress forward, of course, without contact as well. Obviously, the team name Don't Touch Racing. Well, he's going to be shouting that out the window all the way around the track this afternoon, I am sure. So, Steffi Halm lining up on the grid. She is going to be on row 4 alongside Theo Calve. She's going to be starting in 8th position. She had 2 podium finishes at the Nürburgring 4 weeks ago. Not even that, 4 weeks ago, is it? It was even longer than that. Sorry, it was about 5 weeks, wasn't it? It's incredible how long ago it was. But Steffi in the gorgeous Iveco, doing her very best time after time. She currently is 6th in the championship on 90 points. She has a 31-point advantage over Andre Kurzim, who we spoke to not long ago. Now we'll have a look at the grid and exactly how they're going to line up for the first of the weekend's races. Norbert Kish lines up on pole position then with a new lap record in qualifying, a 2:01.116. He's alongside his old school adversary, Jochen Hahn. The second row of the grid is going to be made up of Antonio Albacete and Sasha Lenz. Good to see Antonio getting back into the swing of his qualifying performances. Usually he's the guy that makes up the places in the races, but he stuck it well on the grid this time round. Jamie Anderson's done that as well in 5th position. He is the highest of the Promoters Cup drivers alongside the local boy, Adam Lachko. Everybody's going to be cheering on Adam and his wonderful number 55 Freightliner. He's got his teammate right behind him on the grid, Theo Calve, starting 7th. He's alongside Steffi Halm, who we just mentioned a moment ago. And then we've got Jose Rodriguez lining up in 9th position alongside Stefan Fast, another 2 drivers from the Promoters Cup. And as our wonderful Ford F-Max makes its way around the circuit, you can see Shane Brereton and Lucas Hahn on row 6 of the grid. Shane will certainly be looking to move forward much further from there. And then we have Jonathan Andre starting in 13th place alongside Andre Kurzim, who has been allowed to start at the back of the grid. A wonderful glint of the light there from the Ford F-Max, the official truck performing its inspection lap. And my good friend Lucas Schroeder, I believe, at the wheel of this machine once again, putting it through its paces around Autodrom Most. This boy certainly knows how to drive, I can tell you that. It's a very impressive machine as well, the Ford F-Max. Certainly has a lot of power. You can kick the back end out. There's been a number of moments over the course of the season and even last season as well where you will see smoke coming off the rear tyres as it gets thrown around. But this is the thing. The truck needs to be thrown at the circuit as hard as possible just to make sure that everything is as safe as it can be. There's no debris, there's no spillages, nothing that could cause the trucks to have a difficult time or the drivers to have a difficult time while out there on the track. Down in towards turn 15, long sweeping right underneath the bridge. You can see a lot of the services and ambulances and all of the crews there sort of stationed around that area before they make their way down to the bottom end of the circuit, down at turns 10 to 12. Even the chicanes at turns 6 and 7 as well. Because it's a very narrow and long circuit, it can be quite difficult to pack everything in. To be honest with you, it's quite a tight paddock at Autodrom Most, especially when the trucks are in town. Now there's a view of turn 19, which is that long sweeping kink. Seems like a very strange way of describing a kink, doesn't it? But it is. Turn 20, the right-hander at the end, just under that Auto Palace bridge. And then into the pits comes the Ford F-Max. So inspection lap complete. We should get the go-ahead any moment now. And our very own Frank will lead the field away in the gorgeous Iveco S-Way, the bio-LNG powered Iveco S-Way. And everyone will be raring to go right now. You can see all of the personnel making their way into the pit lane to their necessary points there, necessary stations. Everyone overlooks everything and gets them all ready to go. You can see the front row, Norbert Kish and Jochen Hahn once again starting side by side. Sascha Lenz is normally the guy to watch off the start. He is very, very quick. He's always said that he's tried to outdo Norby off the starts. Sascha really excels in those moments. But Norbert's pace is just absolutely roof we go to. They've just unlocked something very, very important in that truck to get it to behave almost everywhere they go to. You know, the balance is completely spot on. And as I keep saying, the field's so well represented in this championship. They all look wonderful, don't they? They all look brand new, like they've had a complete rebuild overnight. A lot of the times, when you do see the trucks in the awnings themselves, it does look like they've had a rebuild overnight as well. They really pick them apart, take them completely to pieces, and check everything over. There's a lovely shot of the field as they all wait to get things underway. The nice countdown there on the gantry, 3 seconds, and the Iveco S-Way hops away off the line with our very own Frank the Tank at the wheel. You can see the Hyundai i30N medical car at the back. There's Albacete and Sascha Lenz, Jamie Anderson and Adam Lachko on the next row of the grid. That's a great qualifying performance, that is, by Jamie Anderson, to be fair. Did a time of a 2:02.449. And he's really impressed this season. He's taken 2 overall race victories so far this year. And leading them round is, of course, the aforementioned Iveco S-Way, powered by Bio-LNG, those gorgeous big chrome tanks on the sides of it, containing all of the Bio-LNG. The field makes its way around the chicane for the first time on the warm-up lap. Everybody will be focusing now on just getting their temperatures to where they want them, getting the tyres up to temperature, working the truck in, just getting used to how everything feels, and of course, getting used to the conditions as well. With having so many sessions and so many races over the course of a weekend, things can change very, very quickly. And from one session to the next, the truck can feel completely different in one corner to how it does in another session. Even over the course of a few laps, with how quickly the weather can change at a circuit like this. Conditions are never certain. You can see Norbert Kish lighting up the rears a little bit there, kicking the back end out, making sure that he has properly worked the tyres. It's a great sight, isn't it, as they all make their way down through turn 13. Our very beautiful, colourful grid. It looks like Norbert Kish is very eager to get going. You know, he's not leaving a big gap to the pace truck yet, although they are only about halfway around the lap, so they don't need to worry just yet. The Sector 2 line is just to the left of where our camera is, really. About halfway down that small back straight. Sector 1 is just before they get into the chicane at turns 6 and 7 at the bottom of the hill. So all of this part through here is Sector 3. And laps just over 2 minutes in these trucks. Previous lap record was a 2 minutes 1.3 set by David Vesecki in a Freightliner in 2009. And it's only this morning that Norbert Kish has beaten that 201.116 in qualifying. Another thing I mentioned during qualifying is, for comparison, the outright lap record around here is set by Josef Neuhauser in a Minardi M190, a 1990 Formula One car, set in the year 2000. He did a 1 minute 16.1. We're not going to quite hit those lap times today, but that is absolutely fine, because it means that the drivers have got longer to enjoy the lap time and time again. But I'm very happy to say that for the first time this weekend, and for the 17th time this season, the lights are about to come on as we go racing at Autodrom Most in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship, and we're underway now. Looks like a very even start for Jochen Hahn and Norbert Kish off the front row. Looks like they keep very level as they head toward down the chicane for the first time. Very close to making contact, almost kissing wing mirrors as they get to turn in, but Jochen's managed to hang it around the outside. That means he's going to have the inside for turn 2. And it's not often that Norbert Kish loses the lead at the start, and it looks like he doesn't want it to happen here, and he's not going to. He holds on to it. Fantastic stuff by Norbert Kish. Great power off the corner there to stay ahead of Jochen Hahn. Jamie Anderson's trying to go around the outside of Adam Lachko. I think we may have had somebody off at the back, you know, because the medical car was pulling over very, very suddenly to the left-hand side there. We'll have to keep our eye on these sectors and see who comes through and who doesn't. But it's Norbert Kish leading Jochen Hahn. Sasha Lenz in third position is ahead of Antonio Albacete. Then it's Jamie Anderson in fifth. And oh, dearie me, that is Steffi Halm with Stefan Faas latched on to the back on the rear bumper bar of her truck. That's a very bizarre incident. There must have been wheel-to-wheel contact that put his truck up into the air like that. And that is a red flag. My, oh my. Well, I suppose that's how smaller commercial vehicles are made. But the session has very quickly been red flagged, and understandably so. Now, these trucks may have a lot of power and torque, but I don't quite think Steffi's truck has got enough power to pull both of them along. And at the end of the day, it would not be safe to try and move them like that. And that's going to be one interesting thing to try and separate, to be honest with you. But as I said, I saw that there was a lot of dust, and then all of a sudden, the medical car that follows on at the back of the pack for the first lap just suddenly pulled over to the side, and normally it would follow for the entire lap. So I figured something had gone on there. Just trying to see who else we might have lost in all of that. Lucas Hahn is still there near the back of the order. Jose Rodriguez has got a bit of damage. Andre Kurzim came through shot as well. Just going to try and count them if we stay on this shot here. We're up to 8 trucks with Shane Brereton. 9 with Teo Calve still in there. 10 for Lucas Hahn, and then we'll have Janiec's truck driven by Jonathan Andre next up. So we've lost just the 2 which we've seen involved in the incident, which is Stefan Faas and Steffi Halm. Must have been a very, very odd incident. Not sure if we'll get a replay of that one. But I'd be really intrigued to know exactly how that came about. But we've seen it a lot in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship, where when you have wheel-to-wheel contact, it can launch either the front or the back of either truck up in the air. You see it in all forms of motorsport, whether it be closed-wheel racing in GT cars and touring cars, or whether it be open-wheel machines like your Formula cars. That is going to take some moving. Front right corner of Stefan Faas's truck completely off the ground, and I think the front left might be off as well. And he's saying, you need to lift it up, sunshine. That ain't going nowhere. Now, they have underneath these structures, you can see them on the back, the bumper bars that they have. But they actually have them on the front as well, underneath the bodywork. A lot of the time you'll see the bodywork break away. It is designed to do so. And then they'll have those bars underneath. We actually saw at the Slovakia ring, we had contact between Steffi Halm and Shane Brereton, where they were side by side and the 2 bars got latched together in a very scary way down towards turn 2. And it can happen a lot quicker than you think, to be honest with you. You would think that it'd be some very special circumstances for that to happen, but yeah, that is a very, very strange one indeed. I've never seen it happen like that, where they're lodged on top of one another. It's a very unique way of going to play Tetris. Now, thankfully, we will not be able to show a replay on stream, unfortunately. But the wonderful people at Smart Witness that have all of the cameras for judicial review have let me know that they're going to try and send me some footage. I know it's not quite the same with just me telling you what happened, but at least I can get an idea of how the incident has come about, and the stewards and all the officials and everyone involved can find out as well. Now, it looks like they're going to try and lift Stefan's truck from the left-hand side here. And while doing that, they're going to try and pull Steffi's truck out of the front. So I'm quite intrigued to see how they make this work, to be honest with you. It's good to see Stefan's okay. At least he's out of the truck and been walking around. I've not seen Steffi, but I'm assuming she's perfectly fine, because they are going to still try and move the truck. There's no medical attention around either of them now. But that just seems like a very unfortunate moment. Grid. Stefan Faas, I should say, was directly behind, and he was on the same row as Jose Rodriguez. So I'm wondering whether there was a bit of a check-up in the chicane, and Jose maybe made contact with Stefan, put him into the left rear of Steffi's truck. There is fluid coming out as well, actually, that's being brushed away to the left of the shot there. And this is going to take some fantastic coordination, this. More marshals making their way to the scene just to brush up and get any fluid away. Obviously, whatever contact there has been has broken something, or either that, or it might even just be water that is running out from where the water jets are that spray water onto the brakes. We often do see that sometimes when the trucks do sit for a while and they have been using those water jets, that they can just basically just drip gradually onto the circuit, and it's better to rub that away. any slippery surface that you have on the circuit is a bad one. And we just wait now, unfortunately. We just have to... All we can do is wait, basically, for the recovery operation to take place. And it's the same for all the teams and drivers down there on the grid as well. And that's the thing. You never know how long these recoveries are going to take. And you can see that the contact did happen at the chicane, and there's more fluid been put down there as they get the cement dust on the circuit to hopefully dry it up and stop that becoming a potential issue for other drivers and teams, as they will inevitably make their way back around and over where that spillage took place. You can see even the gravel on the edge of the circuit being brushed away there. I think that actually there's a small service road that goes over to that curb. And just making sure that that is all clear. And Steffi Halm's truck has been released, and Steffi is driving away. I did wonder whether Steffi was still in the cab, actually, because we hadn't seen her walking around. I did wonder whether she was just going to drive off as soon as they picked it up. And there's a sweeper making its way onto the circuit. That is not down at turn 10. I think that may be down at turns 7 and 8, actually, the right-hander. That may have been turn 8, actually. Now be dragged away. Obviously, his unable to move under its own power. And here is the sweeper. Not the fastest truck that we'll have out there on the circuit today, but of course one of the most useful. And it was down at turn 8 that it joined the circuit. And again, we get another wonderful view of our massive Scania recovery truck that is on hand to help deal with these scenarios. Goes to show as well that while these racing trucks are a lot smaller than the trucks you see on the road, they're not that much smaller, to be honest with you. And there is the sweeper making now 3, which is the slight right kink on the exit of the first chicane. And obviously there is more needed to be done than just pure Marshall elbow grease here. Gutting stuff for Stefan Faas as well. He's a driver that doesn't really have any luck reliably, to be honest with you. He's always a guy that seems to be up against it and working very hard with other forces seemingly against him, bless him. He's a lovely bloke, though. A very funny guy, Stefan Faas. A great character. All of the tank pool team are just really good fun. And the clean-up operation continues. There is Andrei Kurzim, stood in the pit lane. Now, during this red flag, they are allowed to exit the vehicle, walk around, and just relax for whatever time they can before getting back in. In some forms of motorsport, you'll see that the drivers have to remain in their vehicle throughout, but in this championship it's easy to get in and out of them in comparison to a lot of other racing machines, so they don't need to worry too much. And there is a sorry sight, which is Stefan Faas's Scania being towed away. But a big thank you, of course, to our safety crews and the marshals and everybody else, all the officials working trackside over the course of the weekend. Without them, we would not be able to go racing at all. So we salute them. We are always grateful for the hard work they put in. And then they pull over into that little tiny service road over the gravel trap and make their way back around. Of course, you see all of the media attention down here at turn 2. You'll never see photographers in the wild on their own usually, but there's a flock of them there, like a load of vested flamingos. And unfortunately, Stefan Faas will be going no further in this race. Now, I'm excited to see whether we will get a complete restart with the grid as it was, because we didn't complete a full lap of racing. And that was the other thing I was going to bring up. Is Steffi Halm going to go back round to the grid and start the race? It looks like it from this current moment. You can see where the damage is, though. It's taken quite the nasty hit to the left rear there. Could just all be superficial. But the officials are looking over it now and discussing what's happened. They're looking at the tyres as well, and they've got some of the guys down there from Goodyear. I can see Tony Idden there as well. I believe Mr. Califano is down there as well. They're going to be just checking whether that tyre is safe to race on, basically, because if it has taken a hit, or if there's been any gouges taken out of it, or if it's maybe fouling a bit of the bodywork, they wouldn't want that tyre to let go partway through the race. They have the opportunity now to check it, now that the race is stopped, and they will certainly do so. And let Steffi know what the situation is. So they're moving the truck a little bit just to get a look around the entire tyre. At the end of the day, if there's part of the tyre on the ground, you can't check it out. And it's good to see. This is the thing in motorsport. You know, safety is of the highest priority. I know there may be some impatient souls thinking, why can't we just go racing now? Truck looks fine, but all it takes is for there to be one slight issue with that tyre, and it could cause a much bigger issue later on down the line. So it's better to be safe than sorry, especially at this point. And the race will not be shortened, I've been told. And the original starting order will be used. And we just have to wait patiently now and see on racing needs to be taken. I fear they may have found something in the tyre there, maybe a piece of bodywork or something from one of the other trucks, or maybe a gouge or something in it. But of course, it's hard to tell if that's going to be a potential issue or not. So there may be a little bit of deliberation here. And we're actually going to go down and speak to Steffi now and see what her thoughts are on how things are at the moment with Andreas.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we have just to wait a second because Steffi... Yes, yeah, I'm talking to Steffi. Yes, I'm talking to Steffi, but she's at the radio at the moment. Sorry for that. Yeah, Steffi, a little bit, I think, radio communication with your engineer. What happened exactly, and what is at the moment your point? Can you start again, or is it impossible to start?
No, I don't know. At the start, it was very tight because in the first corner before the chicane, Theo tried to overtake, and we were 3 tracks in the first corner, and it's not possible.
Okay, so we have to stop because the technical delegate is here. Okay.
Well, we've just had. I've just had the footage come through. Thank you again to Smart Witness and their wonderful cameras. And yeah, Teo Calve went down the inside of Jamie Anderson, made it 3 wide with him and Adam Lachko. Adam was then off the track, hit the back left of Jamie very hard as well. And then in all of it, I think there were 3 wide again on the exit. Steffi was on the inside on the left. Out of see exactly how it came about. I've been sent the footage from Stefan Fast, so I will try and have a look at that for you as well. And yeah, there was just a tiny overlap. Stefan tried to put the nose of his truck down the inside, and unfortunately it just climbs up the left rear of Steffi's truck as well. And well, the technical delegates have spoken to her, and she is seemingly reversing off the grid now, which is a humongous shame. Nothing that Steffi did wrong in that scenario there. It all slowed down quite a lot. And it seems like Steffi will be guided into the pit lane and potentially then into the paddock. That is a massive, massive shame. You can see the sweeper still doing its job down there. But we have lost 2 trucks from the race already. As discussed, we will not have a shortened race distance. It will continue. With the full complement of laps going into it. So we'll get fully underway very soon for you, hopefully. I was just trying to look and see if I could grab anything from the timing, but obviously with not really doing anything in terms of a first sector, or other than the first sector, I should say, there is nothing really to take any information from. So we're going to have the original grid order. I've been told there is a cut on the surface of Steffi's tyre, so they can't really afford to risk that and send Steffi out at full race pace. You can see then a big gap on the left-hand side of the grid. Lucas Hahn will be pretty happy with that because it means he's got a clear run at the trucks in front of him. Now, I'm intrigued to see how he will line up on the grid as well, because you would expect that he would still stay side by side with Shane Brereton. And you can see all the squads still racing, or still waiting, I should say, to get racing. And apparently, thank you to Andreas, Steffi's going to try and get the tyre changed and then start the race from the pit lane. And that would be a fantastic effort by the team to at least get her out there and see if she can still make up some ground, score some championship points. It was looking like she was going to extend her lead, or at least her gap in the championship, from Andre Kurzim. Now here is a look. So this is on board with Steffi Helm. Now look at Teo Calve on the right-hand side. And he goes down the inside of Jamie Anderson. Obviously, Lachko doesn't know they're 3 wide, so he turns in where he thought he could. There's still 3 wide there. Big contact in front, and there is the contact from Stefan Fast hitting the left rear of Steffi's truck. And the two of them latch together, and they cannot go anywhere. And look, she can see she's trying to still get going, but no, that is that, unfortunately. And a very, very frustrating situation for Steffi Helm. Looks like she will be starting from the pit lane, though. And you can see now marshals and everybody all just waiting for confirmation that we're all good to go. And everyone on the grid will be certainly trying to just remain calm and not let the situation get to them. And there's apparently still quite a few minutes left to go, actually. We've just been told there's a potential 10-minute delay because of the oil that's down there on the exit. Clearly something broke big time in either the front of Stefan's truck or the rear of Steffi's. And it has caused quite the spillage that they've even been spending a lot of time fixing and cleaning up already, but now they're having to spend even longer on making sure that it is safe because at the end of the day, it's a very important part of the circuit. You know, the trucks are coming out of there and getting on full power on the exit before they fly down towards turns 3 and 4. Now, coming into this weekend, we normally actually in this championship have sort of milestones for drivers to hit in terms of how many race starts they've had this weekend. The last race at the Nürburgring was actually Theo Calve's 50th start in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. And Steffi Halm will hit 270 races by the end of this weekend, but there are no other real milestones for drivers to be reaching this time round, unfortunately. Nothing quite lines up with that one. We've had Sasha Lenz hit 200 races, Shane Brereton hitting 100 races at the Nürburgring. A few weeks ago, or a few race meetings ago, I should say, Adam Lachko hit 405. But there's no other drivers really hitting any specific milestones at this point. Norbert Kish still remains closer and closer as ever to Jochen Hahn's 67 pole positions. He's got 43 now in his career. Antonio Albacete has 62 of them as well, so he's still got that record to beat. But Norbert Kish very much on his way to break a number of records in the championship. There we see Steffi Halm making her way down the pit lane, which is awesome to see. Means that she will be definitely starting this race, and it's going to be exciting to see with progress back through the field. Here's another look then. This is on board with Lucas Hahn. That is Stefan Fass right in front of us in the 24. And you'll see there, big hit in the left rear corner. And everybody else doing a great job to avoid them and get around nice and cleanly. But you could see it was just a bit of opportunism by Stefan, just to try and maybe get a run on the exit and focus on that. But with all of the contact in front, Steffi was just playing it safe and backing out slightly as to not pile into it and make a bigger incident. And unfortunately, in the checkup, that's where all the contact happened. Now, on the outside of that and involved in the contact was Adam Lachko, and Andreas is down there on the grid to have a chat with him now.
So we talked to Steffi Halm just a few seconds ago, and she said you had a really bad start, and she pushed you during the start procedure, and maybe you are the reason for the crash with Steffi and Steffen. Is it right that you had a bad start?
It's not bad start, but our truck don't have a better start. I do maximum what I know, and yeah, Steffi a little bit pushed me, but what happened on the back, I don't know.
Okay, and your front is really damaged. What happened with your front or your truck?
It's from the, I think it's from the push from Steffi, because on the first chicane it's a little bit bump from the rear, and I touch, I think, Jamie, and on the start it's every time it's very tough.
But no other serious damage, you can run as you planned, and it doesn't affect you.
Yeah, it's only plastic, and we continue on the new start.
Thank you, and back to the commentators. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andreas. Having a quick word with Lachko there, and as you saw, it was all very, very tight in that chicane, as it often is with these trucks making their way around there. And thanks again to Smart Witness for providing that footage for us so we could have a look at exactly how it all went down from the driver's eye view as well. It's great to get so up close and personal with the trucks and see just how heavy some of the hits can be as well. I mean, you can imagine that when one of these trucks mounts the other and hits the back of it, it's not the most comfortable of things, but even through the cameras as well, you can still get an idea of just how big a hit that is. But these machines are so strong and very well built, really safe bits of kit to go racing in. At the end of the day, we wouldn't race them if they weren't safe, would we? So hats off to all of the manufacturers and the teams for making all of the racing that we have so safe, despite the massive size and nature of these incredible racing trucks. You can see the sweeper still doing the rounds at the moment. Just going back and forth as efficiently as possible. And this is another one of those moments, unfortunately, where it's just racing. That's just what happens. Sometimes you do get these issues, you do get these delays. And we'll have to just wait and see and hope that it doesn't, of course, cause any issues during the race. That's why they spend so long on fixing these things and clearing it all up. It would be irresponsible to just try and clear it up a bit, say, it's all right, and then leave it, and then something else happen off the back of that. Fans all waiting patiently as well, and we appreciate all of you watching at home waiting patiently too. We know this is not the most exciting moment of the weekend, but it's completely necessary to make sure that we can go racing safely. Got about 4 minutes or 5 minutes left to go before we get the action back underway. We'll have another pace lap, I believe, and then, of course, have our usual rolling start with the grid as it was. So Norbert Kish and Jochen Hahn on the front row. There is Jochen Hahn in the number 4, Iveco S-Way. Love the livery on that machine. The white and blue looks fantastic. Antonio Albacete and Sasha Lenz will be on row 2. There is Antonio. And Jamie Anderson and Adam Lachko will be back up there as well on row 3. Now, Teo Calvi obviously did the work to get down the inside of Jamie Anderson by turn 1. Really threw it up the inside. But now he's going to have to try and get a good start all over again and do that work once more. There you can see the spillage being cleaned up by the sweeper. Having to cover quite a lot of ground, to be honest. And there is one of Norby's crew. I believe his name is Chabo. I keep getting his name wrong, and I must admit that. Someone told me once to just call him Shabba and say it in a funny way, but I'm not sure he'd appreciate that. To be fair, though, they all have a really, really good sense of humour down there in the Revache Racing camp. They're a very serious team that get the job done, but when it comes to it, they certainly know how to party. My mind goes back to Misano at the end of last season. And if you've ever heard the word Palinka, you know exactly how that party went. So that big gap on the left-hand side of the grid really intrigues me, because Lucas Hahn could definitely make something of that. He's going to be able to brake so much later than everybody ahead of him, even if he is staying side by side with Shane Brereton all the way down the straight. Shane, I'm sure, is going to try and get into that gap. Maybe other drivers in front will try and fill that gap before Lucas can get there. It'd be unwise to leave it completely open like that and let Lucas take full advantage, knowing that he's got that run. The sweeper and marshals make their way off the circuit, though, and we should get going in just a moment. Now, there is an investigation between trucks 33 and 55, which is Jamie Anderson and Adam Lachko. They were the two that we saw coming together. Adam was down the inside of Jamie through turn 2. In my eyes, he can't have really known that they were 3 wide going into turn 1, because down it's hard to see around and through these trucks, especially in the heat of the moment as well. Adam just turned in expecting there to just be 2 trucks and have enough space for him and Jamie to go through, probably not knowing that Teo was there, through no fault of his own, of course. And then the secondary contact happened at turn 2 in the left-hander, and that, I imagine, is what's being looked at. So we have a reduced field now, unfortunately, of just the 12 trucks for this race. Maths was never my strong point. But we've had less trucks than this on the field before. We've had 11 at certain rounds before the weekend has even got underway, and we've still had very entertaining racing. That's the thing. We often say in motorsport, you only need 2 vehicles to show that racing can be good fun. And that is very, very true. But we have still a good complement of 12 trucks taking to the track. Led once again by Frank the Tank in our Iveco S-Way, the bio-LNG powered pace truck of the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. Another quick reminder of your grid then. Norbert Kish in the red number 1 machine on the front row alongside Jochen Hahn. Then it's Antonio Albacete and Sascha Lenz on row 2. Jamie Anderson will start 5th alongside Adam Lachko on row 3. Then in 7th place we'll have Teo Calve. Steffi Halm will not be taking the restart. Jose Rodriguez will start in 9th place. Stefan Fass will also not be taking the start. Next up on row 6 is Shane Brereton and Lucas Hahn. And then on the back row of the grid we will have Jonathan Andre and Andre Kurzim in the number 11 Don't Touch Racing truck after he had a steering failure in qualifying. You can hear the turbos spooling, the engines roaring as they make their way around the warm-up lap. You can see that Norbert Kish and Jochen Hahn both very eager to get going. Jochen trying to stay alongside Norby as long as possible. Sometimes they do back out and go single file through a lot of the corners on these laps. But Jochen is trying to hold the advantage mentally here and try and get in Norby's head before the start of this race. Norbert is very headstrong though. He doesn't let much get to him. And it was a great initial start actually by Jochen Hahn. He held the truck outside at turn 1, had the inside for turn 2, but the tightened line meant that he just couldn't get the power down as early as Norby. And that number 1 held position 1 and disappeared off up the road very suddenly. Through turn 15 we go then. Not long to go now before the race gets underway. Thank you all for sticking with us. We really appreciate it. And I'm sure that we're going to have another exciting race in store for you. Second row of the grid changed round last time. Sascha Lenz got ahead of Antonio Albacete and held on to 3rd position out of turns 1 and 2. I'm wondering whether he can do the same again this time round. It's not always very easy to hold it around the outside of there. Now we head up towards turn 20, just after the bridge. Lovely shot there to see the trucks making their way through the sweeping left. And into the final corner we go then, with Norbert Kish at the front alongside Jochen Hahn, Antonio Albacete and Sascha Lenz on row 2. Then it's Jamie Anderson and Adam Lachko. And look, Lucas Hahn staying alongside Shane Brereton. He qualified there on the grid, so he has to stay there. He cannot slide forward and gain 3 or 4 places and hold on to that left-hand side. So here we go then. Take 2 at Autodrom Most in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. We're away and Norbert Kish is away. He's had a fantastic start. And look at that, Shane Brereton all over the back of Jose Rodriguez. He moves to the left as expected, fills that gap, so Lucas Hahn cannot take advantage of it. Looks like Antonio Albacete's had a decent start as well. Hahn still around the outside of Kish this time round. Looks like Norby's got in front. Oh, there's contact. Lenz into the back of Hahn. Lachko into the back of Lenz. Antonio Albacete all over the markers. Jamie Anderson's off and wide again. This time, though, Teo Calve is not around the outside of him. Anthony Janiec and... Sorry, not Anthony Janiec, apologies. Jonathan Andre moving to the left there to avoid something or someone. As always, contact again between Anderson and Lachko as they go in towards turn 6. Looked like Andre Kurzim was diving out of the way of somebody at the back of the field. Both of the Bagheera ZM Racing Freightliners have bodywork missing on the front, just on opposite corners from the earlier contact. Jamie Anderson now in the middle of them. He is the highest placed driver in the Promoters Cup at the moment. But a solid start by Norbert Kish, Jochen Hahn, Sascha Lenz up into 3rd. Steffi Halm is right up there with Shane Brereton already. Through turn 14 into 15. sweeping round. A similar top three to what we often have. But these guys working very, very hard. Such a high standard in the championship at the moment. It's amazing to see the close racing we get. Shane Brereton and Steffi Helm side by side there. There was a bit of a penalty marker. I say a bit of. There was a penalty marker absolutely clattered there by Shane Brereton. And he's still ahead of Steffi Helm. Then Jonathan Andre behind. Andre Kursim has gone well up into 10th place already. He's behind Lucas Hahn in the middle of the field. But at the end of lap 1, it is Norbert Kish leading the way. Watch the speed that they do as they come across the line. Jochen Hahn second place. Then it's Lenz, Albacete, Lachko, Anderson, Calve, Jose Rodriguez. Then Lucas Hahn and Andre Kurzim right together. Jose Rodriguez just ahead of them is trying to catch up with Calve because he's one of his rivals in the Promoters' Cup. We've got 4 of them right together, actually, line astern in the Promoters' Cup. You can see them all moving out of the way of the oil and the spillage from earlier, actually. I think that may have been what Jonathan Andre and Andre Kurzim were trying to stay clear of. There is truck 1P1. Once again, Norbert Kish leading convincingly by 1.3 seconds last time they broke the beam. Look at the way it handles around there. That just looked like it was on rails. It was like something off a Scale X-Trick set. That looked incredible. The amount of grip he seemed to have there was just unheard of. Well, that just comes down to setup. I mean, as you can imagine, with the weight transfer and how big and burly these things are, setup underneath to keep that platform as level as possible, to keep the contact patch of the tyre as close to the surface as possible and on as much of the surface as possible is so, so important. And that big red MAN at the front just looks so, so convincing. I love that shot of them coming towards us as they come down out of turn 17 up towards the kink at 18. There is turn 19. And into the final few corners once again. Norbert using all of the road. Once more we go then. It's amazing to see the speed that they do down the start-finish straight, isn't it? Like I've said, they're governed to 100 miles an hour, 160 Ks. Anything over that and they get done for over-speeding. It's all to do with safety. Make sure that the trucks aren't going too fast because it could genuinely become an issue if they do go too quickly, of course, at the weight and the size of them. But it's important to note as well that if they do just slightly creep over that 100 mile an hour mark, 160 Ks, then they do have a very short amount of time to get back under it again. So it's not as if just because the telemetry reads 100.3 miles an hour, they will get a telling off for it. If they only have that for maybe half a second or so, then they might be okay. Norbert Kish looking very convincing out of the front, though. Just flying, isn't he? Absolutely flying. Looks like Jochen Hahn hasn't got too much of a gap over Sascha Lenz, actually. It's only about 1.1 seconds. Sascha is going to be working hard to try and catch up with him as the race progresses. We are on lap 3. The counter in the top left of the screen tells you how many laps we've completed. Someone's taken that penalty marker down on the exit of turn 20. There is also a penalty marker missing on the exit of turn 21 as well, which has gone in the last lap or so. And look, Andre Kurzim still tucked right up behind Lucas. Exactly a moment there. But Norbert Kish sliding the back end out slightly as he goes around turn 2. Now look at the gap between Jochen Hahn and Sascha Lenz. I think that battle is going to continue to close up as well. The last lap times were only 0.2 of a second different, actually. But Sascha Lenz did his fastest time last time round, a 2:02.839. It was a 2:03.0 from Jochen Hahn. So I'm sure that Sascha will gradually chip away at him. Antonio Albacete in 4th position is still a few seconds back from them now. It's a shame for Antonio because he was on for another podium. He has the most podiums out of anybody on the grid. He has 9 more than Jochen Hahn. 276, which is just nuts, isn't it? 276 to his name, 267 the way of Jochen Hahn. Norbert Kish has 159 podiums. He's only got 5 less than Adam Lachko. I feel that he may have more than him before the season is up. No disrespect to Adam Lachko, of course. It's more of a sign of just how dominant Norbert Kish can be. Now, Jamie Anderson has closed right in behind Adam Lachko here. As, oh, there is Antonio Albacete off the road. Now, where is that? We may get another red flag for that, because that is going absolutely nowhere anytime soon. And after qualifying 3rd on the grid, it was looking like a very promising day for Antonio and T-Sport Banau. But the work they have to do has suddenly got a lot harder. There is apparently a lot of oil on the track because of Antonio's machine. So that's down at turns 4, 5 and 6. There was apparently a fire, actually, for a moment, and the fire is now out, which is good, but that is not in the best of places, that. It's actually on the inside of the circuit as you get down there at the chicane, because there is the left-hander, you see. But you can see that whatever issue has happened for Antonio, it's happened on the exit of turns 1 and 2, down the hill through 3 and 4. He's then pulled over to the left-hand side, and I'm not sure if he's just not been able to get it stopped properly or something, but it's just coasted all the way through the gravel. You can see the rescue team working on it there. They will have, of course, the double waved yellows down there, so the trucks will reduce their pace. It still looks like they're going through shot quite quickly, of course, but they will have that all under control. But poor Antonio Albacete, another issue. And there he is at the side of the road. Antonio, at 57 years of age, shows no sign of slowing down at all. But unfortunately, the truck and reliability has said otherwise in this situation. So Norbert Kish still leads. He's extending again, still in 2nd place, but he is not too far ahead of Sascha Lenz right now. And look at that, speaking of not too far ahead, Jamie Anderson, well, he's having a fantastic turnaround to his season. After big issues earlier in the championship, he is really on it now. It's the only right-hand drive truck in the field as well, is Jamie Anderson's. At certain points, he has a slight advantage over people because of that, or at least I like to think so, because he knows he can get closer to certain obstacles, cones, curbs, other things. Gets a different viewpoint at least. But then again, if everyone else is on the left-hand side, then that's an advantage over him, so I'd call it a stalemate. He is climbing around all over the back of Adam Lachko, though. You can see the yellow flags being waved. So no overtaking down there. And look at this, now they get out of that yellow flag zone, he can start to really attack and have a go. Now, Teo Calve seemingly cleared Jose Rodriguez by quite a lot at the start of this lap because Jose was right with him earlier. It was only about 1.1 seconds, the gap between them in the first couple of corners, but now, since then, the gap has changed dramatically and Rodriguez has dropped back quite a bit more into the clutches of Lucas Hahn. Andre Kurzim inside the top 10, Steffi Halm also in the top 10. Jochen Hahn is getting closed in on by Sasha Lenz quite a lot, and there is Lachko trying to hold off Jamie Anderson. Very close in a number of these battles throughout the field. You can hear tyres screeching and trucks sliding as Jamie again puts pressure on what's left of Adam Lachko's Freightliner. And there's a black and white flag there for truck 22. That is Lucas Hahn. I believe maybe for track limits. And it's for penalty markers as wow, it was quite the fire actually in Antonio's truck. It was very sudden. I've just been sent the footage. Thanks again to Smart Witness for it. And it was a very sudden burst of flame as he came down towards turn 5. You know, it wasn't like there was a lot of smoke for a bit. It's suddenly something let go and really set quite the fire up on the back of that truck. It went out very quickly though, which is good news. So hopefully it hasn't caused too much damage to the back end of that machine. But wow. So Lucas Hahn then, coming back to him, he needs to just behave himself and be a good boy for the rest of the race now because he's had a warning for hitting the penalty markers. It was probably him that took it out on the exit of turns 20 and into 21 earlier. But look at this now. Teo Calve is really hoping to close in on Jamie Anderson and take some of that pressure off his teammate Adam Lachko. The two Freightliners were doing really well in free practice. They were both inside the top 3 in free practice too. It was Norbert Kish fastest from Teo Calve. Teo was the second fastest out of everybody in second practice with an awesome lap. But since then, he's just not been able to have it. And listen to that. You could hear that tyre squeal there. We heard that earlier through the left-hander at turn 18. That is Shane Brereton pushing very hard indeed and sliding the back end out. That's just how loud it is. A lot of the time, if you're watching GT racing or some sort of Formula open wheel racing, you don't often hear tyre squeal for little slides like that mid-corner, but wow. Humongous amount of noise off the back of Shane's truck there at nearly 100 miles an hour in a race scenario, throwing the truck sideways like that. Awesome. Once again shows you the sort of amazing skill that these drivers have to control such massive machines. Norbert Kish leads the way by 4.2 seconds last time they crossed one of the timing beams. Sasha Lenz continues to close in on Jochen Hahn, and Adam Lachko continues to hold on to 4th place. Here's Andre Kurzim and Steffi Halm, both of them having their own problems over the course of today. Andre going straight on in qualifying after a steering failure. Steffi having contact with Stefan Fass at the start of the race, meaning she had to start from the pit lane after a new tyre was put on. And Andre goes very deep into turn 10. Steffi piling the pressure on right now. Really throwing everything at this. Down in towards turn 13. Penalty markers being absolutely sent. Looks like Steffi's got a good run here, actually. Is there any sort of overlap on Andre? No, not yet. But she pulls out to the right-hand side. There's no point slipstreaming in these things because all it does is heat up the truck as Steffi goes down the inside. Andre goes a little bit too hot into turn 15. Steffi's around the outside of 16. What a fantastic move. Great stuff by Steffi Halm. Gains a place, goes up into 9th position. As, Andre's got an issue. Andre's just gone off the road again. Shane goes past him. There is a definite problem for Andre Kurzim. We saw him go wide in turn 10, and that was a right-hander. He's also gone wide at turn 15, right-hander. Then again, turn 17, guess what? Right-hander. So Andrei Kurzim clearly either a problem with the front left or something to do with the steering that he had earlier in the day, because, yep, you guessed it, he went off in a right-hander. Turn 13 during qualifying. Hopefully he hasn't ended up in the barrier and we've got another stranded truck on the circuit. I think he's carried on by the look of it. He is going to come into the pits, I believe. I'm keeping my eye on the timing just to see that he does make it in. But Adam Lachko somehow still holds on with Jamie Anderson right behind him. Jamie's a very fierce competitor. He's a lovely bloke, but put him behind the wheel and he's a very, very fierce driver. All over the back of the Freightliner, and Adam is really backing him up now into Teo Calvet. He knows that he needs support from his teammate in this situation. He knows they're not going to catch the trucks ahead. So now he's making this about the battle between himself and Jamie, because Teo is trying to take the lead in the Promoters' Cup off Jamie. They're currently first and second in the championship, tied by two... Sorry, not tied. They're separated by 2 points in the Promoters' Cup. Jamie comes into this with a big reputation from the British Rally Championship, and he made his debut in 2018 while also racing in the British Truck Racing Championship as well as the European Truck Racing Championship. That a number of things and shown he's very good at them. He just needs to show Adam Lachko now how good he is at overtaking and get this job done. It's a very tough circuit to overtake on, though. There's not many massive braking zones. A lot of it is a very flowing circuit. It's very hard to have any advantage over the truck ahead. But as we come to complete lap 9, Norbert Kish looks very comfortable once more at the front of the pack. Sounded like some sort of contact or sliding around there in the background. I hope it wasn't contact, of course. But I'm sure we will find out one way or another. Norbert Kish has 9 race wins so far this season, out of the 16 races that we have had. And he just looks very in control, doesn't he? As he comes out of turns 1 and 2. Nice and tidy. Jochen Hahn is very, very close. Well, Sasha Lenz is very close to Jochen Hahn, I should say. Apologies. You can hear the curbs rattling against the tyre, or at least the tyre rattling against the curbs. Should probably get things the right way around now, shouldn't we? Norbert Kish into turn 10. Once again, just look at the grip there. Mid-corner, look at the rotation. It's amazing. It's not even like it over-rotates and kicks the back end out. It's just the front end just digs in and gets on with the job. It was him that in 2021 had the biggest race-winning margin of the season here in race 3. He won by nearly 22 seconds last season. I think it's going to be much closer than that between these two. They've had some fantastic scraps before in the championship. Jochen Hahn and Sasha Lenz. Jamie Anderson and Andrei Kurzim are now also on penalty marker warnings, I've been told. Now, normally over the weekend I'd be getting all of my information sent to me from Barbara, who would be trackside giving all the info, but unfortunately she's not with us at Moss this weekend. But of course I must give her a shout out because she helps me out massively. And of course Alice, who is taking over from her for this weekend and working on the socials as well. So thank you to Alice, who is providing all the info, and everyone at Smart Witness as well that is contributing and throwing texts and information my way. Certainly makes my job on screen. And across the line and on to what will be the final lap goes Norbert Kish. Jochen Hahn, second. Sasha Lenz, third. But is that going to remain that way? Sasha Lenz looking very fierce now in the SL Truck Sport 30 MAN. There goes Norbert. Effortlessly pulling away from turn 2. 4.3 seconds now, the gap over these pair. Still trying to sort it out. Has cleared Anderson, and Teo Calvet has got ahead of him. So there has been a change further down. Apologies, I missed that. But clearly the tactic worked with Lachko holding Jamie up. it became clear as they went into turns 5 and 6 that Lachko wanted to try and at least help his teammate out. Sasha Lenz, you could see there, took a later apex at turn 10 to try and get the run on the exit on Jochen Hahn, but it just didn't work. And we wait and see Norbert Kish make his way through turn 14. And there is the margin getting bigger and bigger. Although I say that, actually, Jochen Hahn's taken 3/10 out of him on the start of this lap. But then again, Norby can probably coast to the end here. Doesn't have to push too hard as long as he doesn't lose 4 seconds in a lap. He's very absolutely fine. Let's see what these two can do then into the final couple of corners. I don't think we're going to see a massive send or anything from Sasha Lenz. He's going to be responsible about this one and just take the points, but it's going to mean that Jochen Hahn is just going to grab an extra couple of points over him in the overall championship. But into the final corner to take his 10th race victory of the season off the back of his 8th pole of the season, Norbert Kish extends his championship lead ever further in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. Awesome performance as ever. Jochen Hahn 2nd, Sasha Lenz 3rd. And yep, that's just what it's like to get racing trucks flying past you. They are very, very heavy machines and a lot of air comes off them. Lachko is 4th. Calve wins the Promoters' Cup in 5th ahead of Jamie Anderson, Jose Rodriguez on the podium. And here comes the drifting from Norby. Another display of fantastic vehicle control. And another fantastic display of awesome pace from the Hungarian. As mentioned, that's his 10th race win of the season. Sasha Lenz worked very hard to get back up right behind Jochen Hahn by the end of that one there. Get it. And truck number 1 comes home in P1 once again. Teo Calve taking another win in the Promoters' Cup. Just ahead of Jamie Anderson. That is Teo's 6th win in the category this season. Jamie still has more, but overall just hasn't scored as many points. They've both been on the podium 11 times now in the Goodyear Cup this season. Sorry, the Promoters' Cup, I should say. But that was another very solid race by Norbert Kish. And it's going to take a lot to stop him now in the championship. That's going to extend his lead by another few points, which means that the gap is now going to be over 50 points. And bear in mind, you get 20 for winning either races 1 or 3, and then you get 10 for winning races 2 and 4. And then consider the fact that if people are going to gain that many points on him, they have to win those races with Norbert not scoring at all, which is highly, highly unlikely. Marshall stood out in the sunshine, showing the drivers their appreciation for what they've seen. And of course, we have to show our appreciation to the Marshals as well for their fantastic work in getting us racing again this afternoon, clearing up all the spillages, clearing up the trucks themselves as well that caused it. And we thank them for all of their continued hard work, because without them, like I say, we wouldn't be able to do all this. A lot of marshalling, and pretty much all of marshalling, as far as I know, actually, is all voluntary. People give up their time on weekends to come and do this, get involved in motorsport, and come and help out and make sure that we can have safe and efficient racing time and time again. There are our recovery crew in the massive Scania making its way down to help out Antonio Albacete. And as I brought up before, that was a very sudden fire in Antonio's truck. Luckily, he's okay. The truck seems fine as well, if not a little bit charred and beached in the gravel. But this massive recovery vehicle will make light work of that, I can tell you that. I mean, I hope it will, because now I've said that, I might look a bit of an idiot if it doesn't. There is your race winner then, making his way into the pit lane. Norbert Kish sounding the horn. I was going to say, letting everybody know of his arrival, but to be honest, Norbert doesn't need to give everybody a second warning. They all know exactly who they need to beat if they want to take this championship. triple champion already in 2014, 15 and 2021. He is going to take some beating, I can tell you that. Of course, we all hope for an exciting championship fight that goes down to the wire, but we would never wish any ill result on Norby or his fantastic team that works so hard day in, day out to make sure everything is top-notch, performing at its best. I just had one of my friends describe that Scania to me, the blue one, as Big Chunk, and he's not wrong at all. It's actually Jack Werrell, one of the commentators that has worked with us before here on the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. And we are moving Parc Fermé right now. Normally they would come down into the pit lane, but I believe with some of the delays we've had, they are going to get the other races through the pit lane and crack on with those. So we need to make sure that we are not taking up that space at this point of the day. You can see there, they're just working to try and get the front end hooked on to Antonio's truck. They're going to lift the front end out of the gravel and then just drag it away, and the cleanup operation will get up to full speed. All the gravel and everything will be thrown away to the side of the circuit, and it'll be all clean and safe for everybody to continue racing for the afternoon. Don't forget, we have another race coming up for you this afternoon. And that will be starting about 4:30 local time. I've just been told as well that the drivers, unfortunately, have been sent the wrong way. That's why they've gone that way. It's not that we needed to get out of the way for anybody. Just the drivers have been guided in the wrong direction, unfortunately. But everybody's human. We all make mistakes. It happens. There's a lot to be organised in motorsport and a lot of direction needed. So it's all good. Nothing too much to worry about. We're hoping that we can grab a word with Norbert Kish if Andreas can have a quick chat. And I believe while we wait, we'll have a look back at some of the very best moments of that race and exactly how it all panned out. So you see everybody lining up on the grid, ready to go. It's been a long time since we went racing in the European Truck Racing Championship, and everybody was very excited to get it underway. Plenty of contact in turns 1 and 2 between Lachko and Anderson, and then Steffi Halm getting a big whack in the left rear from Stefan Fass, which ultimately latched the two trucks together and caused quite the stoppage with a lot of fluid being put down on the road. Fortunately though, all the crews were as efficient as they could be, got it all cleaned up and got the trucks away, and we thank them for their very hard work because it meant that we could still go racing and still take our slot amongst the racing weekend. Unfortunately though, Steffi Halm would not take her slot on the grid, but she would restart the race from the pit lane after the contact had left quite the gouge in the inner rear tyre. The sweeper featured on track more than some of our racing trucks did at this point in the afternoon. Same goes for the Marshalls as well. But eventually we got racing once more, and it was a very strong start from Norbert Kirsch. He learned his lesson and did not let Jochen Hahn take advantage this time round. There were some great battles in the middle of the pack as well, involving Adam Lachko and Jamie Anderson. Antonio Albacete was a late retirement as well, with a humongous fire suddenly bursting out on the back of his machine, but he was okay, and hopefully his MAN is as well. Issues for Andrei Kurzim dropped him out of the race in the end. Steffi Halm taking advantage of his truck before the issues hit him further. You can see just the understeer that he was having to deal with. But Norbert Kirsch at the front of the field was once again dominant and took his 10th win of the season. Jochen Hahn second and Sascha Lenz in third. A very, very common podium for us. And we're just having to wait for Antonio's truck to get moved away. And like I said, we will try and have a word with our eventual race winner. We've got Tim Frost down there in the gravel trap with the guys as well. Don't know how on earth Tim's got down there so fast. Maybe he's just jumped in one of the recovery vehicles or something with them. But he's just trying to help dig the MAN out. And that's one of the benefits of these trucks, you see, because they have so much space behind the cab. You can actually climb inside between the engine and the bodywork and other parts of the truck to get at whatever you need to. It's quite remarkable. There's been a moment or two where I've stood inside the rear end of those trucks. It's a very odd place to stand, but still it's impressive that you can do. And it means that they are in some way easier for them to work on. And it was good to have a quick look back at how that all unfolded, of course, with our wonderful footage. And of course, thanks to Smart Witness as well. We had a lot of their shots featured over the course of that race. It's great to have them on board. And once again, nice to see the footage making the broadcast as well. Norbert Kish takes another fantastic win. 3.8 seconds by the end ahead of Jochen Hahn. Sascha Lenz finishing third, grabs an important podium to add to his tally for this season. Those three, 11 podiums each now. The next person back has 5 podiums. That's just how good those guys are. Adam Lachko is in 4th place ahead of his teammate Teo Calvé. The two Bagheera ZM Racing Freightliners going quite well around here, which is safe to say. Jamie Anderson finishes 6th. He'll be a bit gutted about that one because he led the Promoters' Cup pretty much all the way through and then lost it right near the end. Jose Rodriguez gets a podium in that class as well. He was ahead of Lucas Hahn, who finishes in 8th place. Steffi Halm recovers to 9th. Shane Brereton rounds out the top 10 after trying to really throw everything at the circuit and having some slides later on in the race. Jonathan Andre finishes in 11th place, and he was the last finisher as Andre Curzin retired with 3 laps to go. Antonio Albacete was out of the race as well, and so too was Stefan Fass. So now, after the trucks have done their dance, there's some peace and quiet over the circuit, at least for most people. Some hard work going on here with the recovery crews. And it seems like there's maybe something a little bit more complicated going on at the back end of Antonio's truck before they can get it away. You can see that Tim Frost is still in the back end of the truck. Maybe just trying to make sure that something doesn't get damaged or just to inspect something before they move it away. And this is one of the real tough moments in motorsport where you have these problems and you have to wait. Now we have the podium. Drivers making their way through. Jochen Hahn and Norbert Kish having a chat. Jochen there saying something about when Norby goes slow. I'm actually thinking that maybe Jochen is feeling he wasn't given space in turn 2 or something, because Norbert did move to the left-hand side to cover the inside line once they'd been through turn 1. I'm wondering whether Jochen might not have been too happy about that one. They make their way around to the podium. Sascha Lenz makes his way up for 3rd position. Jochen Hahn makes his way up there for 2nd position overall in the race. Interesting to see the flags have been put on the side of the podiums there. I'm not sure if they're screens or not. I imagine they would be for ease of use. And Norbert Kish takes his 10th win of the season. Very well done indeed. And now the trophies will be brought out. Now we just wait for a moment for the trophies to be brought up. Seemingly just a slight delay in the drivers getting their silverware for this race. And there's the all-important extra hat for Norbert Kish. The drivers usually have their own branding, their own hats for a lot of their pictures. And then, of course, the Goodyear hats for winning. And I think they're having to bring the champagne out now, actually. I was going to say, there was a seeming lack of champagne. Sasha Lenz is getting that one ready, look. You can see already. And Jochen. Jochen's ready to go. They know exactly what they want to do. They want to soak Norbert Kish. Oh, Jochen. Oh, Jochen, what have you done? Oh, well. Now, if you know Jochen, you know exactly what he's going to be saying about that. But the less said about that from me, the better. Well, they tried to be one step ahead of the game there. But unfortunately, that did not work out too well for Jochen, did it? Now they're clapping somebody. It seems like this is a race of delays, doesn't it, actually? Not sure the trophies are going to be brought out. And there you go. The guys pose for pictures on the top step.
Sorry for the short interruption. I only saw this new bump of the champagne, guys. So one more time.
The announcer said there for a moment. Oh, the girls get soaked with champagne.
Apology, and one more time, the trophy for the top three are presented by Miss Joanna Grizzlos from DMB.
Oh, and here you go. The trophies are coming out now. This has been a very unorthodox day, hasn't it, so far? And hopefully the rest of the day does run smoothly. We'll have to see, won't we? Jochen Hahn, second place. And Norbert Kish takes another race win after another very successful start to his afternoon. And there we go, the national anthem of Hungary for Norbert Kish. And the top three overall then, Norbert Kish, Jochen Hahn and Sasha Lenz. And now we get more pictures on the top step of the podium, trophies in hand. Now, it's a tradition I've not seen in other forms of motorsport before, actually, the changing of the caps, but I don't think it's a particular tradition. Maybe just something that these guys have. And here's the champagne. Sasha Lenz soaks oh, those poor girls. Soaks one of the grid girls. And Jochen Hahn fires one shot off to the side, soaks everybody. I could hear him say attention for a moment there for Norby to say cheers, have a quick sip, and then get ready for the second race later on this afternoon. As mentioned, the next broadcast will start about 4:30 local time, 3:30 UK time. But before that, we're going to get the next podium back out, which is going to be the Promoters' Cup. And Jochen throws his cap to some of the fans over on the right-hand side. And now more champagne and trophies are brought out. And, oh, they are stick-on flags. It's quite an interesting way of doing it, actually. I thought they were small screens, but they did look like they were slightly askew. Now we just wait for a few more moments. And you get your clues there as to who is going to be going up onto the podium, don't you?
official podium ceremony of promoter.
And here we go then.
On the first place, East Round Promoters Cup, José Rodrigues, Portugalsko, José Rodrigues, Portugal.
And here we go. Jose Rodriguez finishes in 3rd place.
East Round Promoters Cup, second place in Promoters Cup, Jamie Anderson, Great Britain.
Jamie Anderson gets 2nd place after a long fight with Adam Lachko through that one. Eventually lost the position to Teo Calve, but still it's very close in the championship. And Teo Calve takes another Promoters Cup win. That's his 6th win of the season. A handshake between him and the other drivers. And Teo continues to impress. And I always say it, but those Bagheera Zedem racing overalls look fantastic, don't they? And here are the trophies, much quicker than last time. Jose Rodriguez 3rd.
Trophy for the second place for Jamie Anderson. And trophy for the winner Promoters Cup goes to Tilman. And now it's time for the national anthem.
Now Jamie Anderson will be pretty pleased, I'm sure, with another 2nd place. But we're going to hear the French national anthem for your Promoters Cup winner, Teo Calve.
Thank you very much. And now, guys, let's get together for official picture. So wear your Goodyear caps, take your trophies, show us it to the photographs. This is time to make the official pictures. So right now, time for taking the pictures.
And there are the pictures in the Goodyear caps, sorry. And oh, they're going straight for the champagne, actually. Here we go. Who's going to get there first? Teo? They're not going to soak each other, are they? You could see Teo looked at him there and said, let's not. They know they've got to use those overalls later on. Jamie soaks our cameraman. One of the risks of being a cameraman in the European Truck Racing Championship. You do always get drenched. But well-deserved trophies and champagne all round for our Promoters Cup drivers. Very well done indeed. Now we wait to see what the situation is afterwards between Adam Lachko and Jamie Anderson, because of course that was under investigation for the contact that they had in the first running of the race before we had the red flag. So we'll have to see how that turns out after the race. Obviously that's when the investigation will go through, but we will have to see what we can come back to you with a little bit later on. The next broadcast will start about 4:30 local time. But for now, thanks very much for watching, everybody. I've been Chaz Draycott, and this has been the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship.